My mom said me leaving was the best gift. I didn't expect to uncover a decade-long lie. It happened on a Tuesday. My mother's birthday. We were sitting at the dining table in her apartment, the same apartment where I grew up, though now it looked more like something out of a design catalog. Cold. Too clean. The warmth of our cluttered past, the school drawings on the fridge, the chipped mugs, the mismatched curtains, all gone. Replaced with minimalism. Beige walls. Chrome fixtures. Glass surfaces that reflected every flaw. Her new husband, Victor, had cooked dinner. He always tried too hard. Expensive wine. Lamb roast. Grilled vegetables with some sort of imported seasoning. He didn't even like vegetables. He just wanted to impress, or maybe pretend. Everything about him felt like a performance. I hadn't planned to stay long. Just show up, bring a gift, smile for a photo, and leave. We hadn't really been close for years, but I still showed up. I thought it mattered. There were only 4 of us at the table: Mom, Victor, my Aunt Irina, and me. My cousin Lyra was supposed to come, but had texted earlier that she was feeling off. I suspected she just didn't want to be there. The meal dragged on. Polite conversations. Forced laughter. Small talk about things that didn't matter. I picked at my food, nodding at the right moments. My mom barely looked at me, except when I offered her the gift, a leather-bound photo album I'd made, filled with old pictures of us. She smiled briefly, closed it, and set it aside. And then came the toast. She raised her glass, a tall, thin flute filled with white wine. She didn't tap it with her spoon, didn't ask for attention. She just lifted it calmly, and said, "The best gift I got this year? That you left my life." Silence. I thought I'd misheard. But no. She was looking right at me. Not past me. Not through me. At me. Victor gave her a little smirk, like he was in on some joke I wasn't part of. My aunt looked down at her plate. I opened my mouth to say something. Nothing came out. "I'll pack my things," I said finally, quietly. I stood. My chair scraped against the floor. No one stopped me. No one even moved. As I walked down the hallway to my old room, I could hear the clink of silverware picking back up. They were eating again. Like nothing had happened. My old room didn't feel like mine anymore. The bedspread had been changed, white and gray instead of the old navy blue one I loved. My posters were gone. The closet was half full of Victor's coats. I still had a few things there, some books, winter clothes, my laptop charger, a backup hard drive. And the suitcase I had brought for the visit, still sitting by the wall, half unpacked. I threw everything in quickly. I didn't even fold anything. My hands were shaking, but I kept moving. On the nightstand was a framed photo of us, me and my mom at the beach, taken maybe 10 years ago. We both looked happy. Sunburned and laughing. I picked it up. Held it for a second. Then put it face down. As I zipped the suitcase shut, I could hear them laughing in the dining room. Not loud, just a soft, comfortable laugh. As if I hadn't even existed. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't slam the door. I just walked out. Quietly. When I got back to my apartment, I sat on the floor in the dark. The suitcase was still by the door. I didn't bother turning on the lights. Just the dull blue glow from the street lamp outside. My phone buzzed. A message from Lyra. "Hey, how was the birthday?" I stared at it. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. She said the best gift was me leaving her life. 3 dots appeared. Then disappeared. Then came back. Then disappeared again. No reply. I tossed the phone onto the couch and leaned back against the wall. My throat felt tight. I hadn't cried, but something was pushing up inside me. Like a scream that hadn't found its way out yet. Why had she said it? We weren't close, that much was true. But this? A public declaration of hatred? On her birthday? She'd never been warm, but she'd never been cruel. Not like this. I thought maybe she was drunk. But no, her words were too deliberate. Her eyes too clear. It wasn't a slip. It was a message. The next morning, I got a voice message from my uncle, her brother. "Hey. I, I heard what happened last night. Just wanted to say, maybe it's best if you give her some space. Things have been tense lately. She's under a lot of pressure. Try not to take it personally. Try not to take it personally. That's what people always say when you're supposed to swallow your feelings and pretend everything's fine. I didn't respond. I just stared at the wall for a while. Then got up and made coffee. No appetite, just the bitter taste and the warmth in my hands. Later that day, I got a message from Lyra. Listen, can we talk? In person? I wrote back, of course. Come over. She came by that evening, wearing an oversized hoodie and no makeup. She looked tired, like she hadn't slept. She sat on my couch, pulled her legs under her, and said, "There's something you don't know. About your mom. About why she did that." And that's when everything started to shift. Lyra sat still for a moment, like she was trying to choose her words carefully. "I didn't come last night," she said, "because I knew something was going to happen. I just didn't know what." I watched her closely. "What do you mean?" She looked down, her fingers twisting the fabric of her sleeve. "A few weeks ago, I was at your mom's place," she said. "She asked me to help her clean out the storage closet. There were old papers, boxes, photo albums. But then I found something. Hidden at the back. A folder. And I wasn't supposed to look. But I did." She hesitated. "It was about you." I blinked. "About me?" She nodded. "Letters. Emails. Printed screenshots. All kinds of things. Your school records. Notes from your therapist. Even stuff I swear you only ever sent privately." My skin went cold. "She's been keeping a file on me?" She called it evidence. I asked her about it, and she told me it was for, just in case. Just in case you came back. Just in case she needed to remind people why she had to cut you off. She said you were toxic. Manipulative. That you were always the problem. I sat back in silence. I didn't know what was more painful, that my own mother had been secretly documenting my life, or that she'd spoken about me like I was a threat. "But you know that's not true," Lyra added quickly. "You know I don't believe her." "I don't know anything anymore," I said, voice hollow. Lyra reached into her bag and pulled out her phone. She opened the Photos app, swiped, and held it out to me. She took pictures of some of it. I didn't want to believe it either. "But you need to see." I scrolled through the images, printouts of texts, some from years ago. One I barely remembered sending after a panic attack, saying I couldn't handle coming home for the holidays. Another, more recent, where I told her I didn't feel safe around Victor. They were framed in the worst possible light. Stripped of context. Just enough to look unstable. "She's making you look like you abandoned her," Lyra said softly. "Like you're mentally unfit. Like she was the victim." I put the phone down. Suddenly, the toast made sense. It wasn't just cruelty. It was strategy. A message not just to me, but to everyone else in the room. She was drawing a line. Making it official. I wasn't part of her life anymore, by her design. And she wanted everyone to agree. After Lyra left, I sat with the lights off again. My phone buzzed a few times, emails, noise, distractions. I ignored them all. I stared at the wall and let the memories wash over me. There had always been cracks. Things I'd chosen to overlook. Like when I was 16 and came home early from school to find her crying in the kitchen, whispering on the phone, "I can't keep covering for them." When I asked who she meant, she just shook her head and said I was too young to understand. Or when she went through my things in university, pretending to help me move, but somehow found every private journal and therapy note I'd ever written. She'd always needed control. Always wanted the upper hand. But I thought it came from love. From fear. I never thought she'd weaponize it against me. The thought made me feel sick. The next day, I called my father. He left when I was 12. Not completely, he moved across town, started a new family. We spoke occasionally. Surface-level things. When he picked up, he sounded surprised. "Hey. Everything all right?" "No," I said. "Did you know Mom's been keeping records about me?" Like, a file. A pause. Then, she told me you'd gone off the rails. That you'd cut her off. That you were dangerous to yourself. I laughed bitterly. Did you believe her? Another pause. I didn't know what to believe, he said finally. You stopped calling. She said you told her not to give me your number. That you didn't want contact. That wasn't true. I remembered clearly, I had asked her for his new number after he changed it. She said he didn't want to talk to me anymore. She'd been lying. For years. I think she's been isolating me, I said quietly. From everyone. My father sighed. That sounds like her. We sat in silence for a few seconds. Then he said something I'll never forget. You were always the honest one. That's why she was scared of you. That night, I did something I hadn't done in a long time. I opened an old hard drive I'd kept from my university days. It had backups of everything, emails, texts, notes. I started going through it, slowly, and I saw the truth laid out in messy digital form. I found an email I'd sent my mom after I moved out, explaining why I needed space, how Victor had made comments that made me uncomfortable, how she never believed me. Her reply had been cold, dismissive. But I'd never shown it to anyone. Now I had proof. It wasn't much. But it was something. And I realized, if she was collecting evidence against me, maybe I needed to do the same. Not to hurt her. But to protect myself. I started sleeping with my phone next to me. Not because I was waiting for someone to call. I just couldn't stand the silence anymore. I needed the screen, the soft glow, the feeling that someone might be out there, watching, reading, knowing. I didn't tell anyone what I was doing, not Lyra, not my father. I didn't even fully know myself. I just started digging. The hard drive became my obsession. I catalogued old messages, journal entries, even deleted photos. I made folders. I cross-referenced dates. I wanted to remember everything, exactly as it happened. And the more I remembered, the worse it got. I found a message I'd written when I was 19 but never sent. It was addressed to myself. She doesn't see me. Not as a person. Only as a reflection of her failure. It hit me like a brick. Because even now, after everything, the toast, the file, the lies, some part of me still wanted to believe she loved me. That she just didn't know how to show it. But maybe that wasn't true. Maybe she'd never seen me as a whole person at all. One night, unable to sleep, I called Lyra again. She picked up immediately. Hey, she said. I've been waiting for you to call. I told her about the hard drive. About what I'd found. And then I asked, was there anything else in that folder? Anything worse? She was silent for a moment. Yes, she said. But I didn't want to tell you unless you asked. Tell me. She hesitated. There were photos. Screenshots from your social media. Comments you made. Things she took completely out of context. Messages between you and your father. And one document, I think it was written by Victor. He described you as unstable. Said you threatened him. My stomach turned. That's a lie. I know, she said quickly. But it was written like a report. Like they were preparing a case. A case for what? She paused. Maybe, to have you committed. Or to cut you off legally. I don't know. But it looked serious. The room spun. They weren't just distancing themselves from me. They were building a defense. A narrative. They wanted to erase me from their lives, and make it look like I was the one who walked away. The next morning, I visited my old school. It was a stretch, I hadn't stepped inside those gates in nearly a decade. But I had a strange memory I couldn't shake. A conversation from when I was 17. My counselor, Mrs. Davhan. I remembered her vividly, tall, serious, always wearing heavy necklaces like armor. Once, after I'd gotten into a screaming match with my mother during finals, she pulled me aside. She said, you know, you can always talk to me privately. I'm required to log what's important. At the time, I'd brushed it off. But now, I wondered what she logged. I didn't expect anyone to let me in. But I tried anyway. And to my surprise, Mrs. Davhan was still there. She looked older, grayer, but her eyes hadn't changed. Sharp, watchful. "I remember you," she said after a moment. "You always walked like you were trying not to be seen." I told her the truth, that I was trying to understand what really happened back then. That I needed to know if she kept any notes. Anything about my mother. About Victor. She didn't answer right away. But she offered me tea. We sat in her small office, filled with dusty binders and fading motivational posters. She sipped her tea. Then she reached into her desk and pulled out a thin manila folder. "I probably shouldn't still have this," she said. "But I always had a feeling I might need it one day." She handed it to me. Inside were notes. Short paragraphs. Observations. Student expressed fear of returning home. Described stepfather as invasive. Reports items moved in room without consent. Mother denies all concerns. Claims student is overly dramatic. Recommended evaluation denied by parent. I stared at the pages, barely breathing. "I wanted to escalate it," she said softly. "But your mother was persuasive. Charming. She knew how to twist things." I looked up. "Did you believe me?" She didn't hesitate. "Yes. I just didn't know how to fight her." On the way home, I sat on the bus with the folder in my lap. I felt like I was holding a piece of my own history, a version of the past that no one had believed at the time, but that was finally, quietly, being acknowledged. I took photos of the notes, sent them to Lyra. She called me within minutes. "You're building something," she said. "A real story. Not just your side. The truth. But what could I do with it? What's the point of truth when no one wants to hear it?" Later that night, I received a message from an unknown number. "We know what you're doing. Stop digging." No name. No signature. Just those words. I froze. I didn't tell Lyra. I didn't call my father. I just stared at the screen, heart pounding. Because I recognized the writing style. The clipped tone. The punctuation. It sounded exactly like Victor. I didn't sleep that night. Every sound, the hum of the fridge, the crack of a pipe, the buzz of my neighbor's TV, felt like a threat. Like someone might be listening. Watching. Waiting for me to open the wrong folder, send the wrong message, or say the wrong thing. I stared at the text again. "We know what you're doing. Stop digging." Part of me wanted to believe it wasn't him. That maybe it was someone else, a wrong number, a prank. But deep down, I knew. It was Victor. The sentence structure. The punctuation. The way he never used emojis, never capitalized I. I'd read enough of his emails over the years to recognize the pattern. This wasn't just a warning. It was a reminder. He was still in control. The next day, I went to the police. Not to file a report, I didn't even know what I'd report. A threatening message? A years-long psychological manipulation campaign? There wasn't a checkbox for that. But I asked them what I could do. The officer at the desk, a tired man in his late 40s with a coffee stain on his shirt, looked at the screenshot and shrugged. "Technically, it's vague," he said. "It's not a direct threat. Just, creepy." "That's the point," I said. "It's meant to scare me without being illegal." He nodded. "You're probably right. But unless he crosses a line, there's not much we can do. Save everything. Document everything. If you get more, come back." I walked out with nothing in my hands. But something had changed in me. I wasn't afraid of the silence anymore. Now, I was angry. That evening, I called Lyra. "We need to talk. Not here. Somewhere private." She agreed. We met at a tiny, old cafe 2 neighborhoods away. One of those places that still used cash-only registers and played soft jazz like it meant something. We sat in the back corner, out of sight. I brought everything with me, the photos of the school counselor's notes, the screenshots, the emails. I laid it out across the table like a puzzle. Lyra stared at the mess, hands folded. "I can't believe this has been going on for so long," she whispered. "She fooled all of us." "She didn't fool you," I said. "You saw it. You said something." "Yeah, and I almost didn't. I almost let her destroy you." We sat in silence for a while. Then I said something I hadn't dared speak out loud. I think she was trying to have me declared unstable. To get legal control. Maybe even push me into treatment. Lyra looked up slowly. Like, conservatorship? I don't know. But something close. Something that would make it impossible for me to challenge her. And Victor? He's not just her husband. He's her accomplice. Lyra hesitated. There's something else I haven't told you. I waited. About a year ago, I was at their place, they didn't know I was in the hallway, and I heard them talking. Your name came up. Your mom said something like, the more time passes, the easier it'll be to write them out completely. What does that even mean? I think they meant your inheritance. Your rights. Everything. I think they were planning to erase you from the family, legally. Quietly. I felt my blood turn to ice. The next day, I did something reckless. I went back to my mother's apartment. I didn't knock. I used the spare key I'd never given back. She always forgot about it, probably assumed I lost it. The apartment was empty. I moved quickly. Every second felt borrowed. I went to the storage room first, the one where Lyra said she found the folder. It had been rearranged. Cleaner. Neater. But behind a stack of old towels, I found it. The folder was still there. Thicker than Lyra had described. I opened it. There were pages and pages of printed emails, messages, photos of me. A photo of me coming out of a pharmacy. A receipt from a therapist. My apartment lease. Even a note I'd written to my high school girlfriend, folded and yellowed. She had been collecting things for years. I took everything. Stuffed it into a plastic bag. I didn't have time to process it, not yet. I left the apartment before anyone came home. But I didn't go back to my place. I went to Lyra's. When I showed her what I found, she looked genuinely shaken. She's been building a case against you for a decade, she said. This is obsessive. Dangerous. And then, almost afraid to say it. You need a lawyer. I spent the next 2 days calling legal offices, trying to find someone who specialized in family law and psychological abuse. Most of them didn't know what to do with me. One hung up. Another told me it was a family matter. But the third, a woman named Ole, listened. Really listened. She asked thoughtful questions. Took notes. Then she said something no one else had. You're not crazy. You're being erased. We met in person the following week. I gave her the file. She read every page slowly, carefully. I watched her eyes narrow at certain parts, her brow furrow. This is not just manipulation, she said. It's a campaign. What do I do? We can challenge it. Not in court, not yet. But we can go on record. Make it known that you're not unstable. That you're watching them. That you're present. She paused, then added. And when people like this know you're present, they panic. They prefer shadows. You've dragged them into the light. Later that night, I received another text. Why are you doing this? Let it go. No name. But this time, I replied. I see you now. There was no answer. But I knew they read it. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel powerless. The next week passed in a blur of silence, paperwork, and guarded phone calls. My lawyer, Ole, had filed an official affidavit, a document detailing a timeline of abuse, coercion, and psychological manipulation. It wasn't a lawsuit, but it was on record. A warning shot. A way to say, I know what you did. And I'm not invisible anymore. The effect was almost immediate. Lyra called me 2 days later. They're panicking, she said. Your mom called my mother. Said you were trying to destroy the family. That you'd become unstable again. Again? She's telling people you were institutionalized when you were younger. That never happened. Another lie. Another carefully planted story, probably told just enough times to become truth in someone else's memory. But Lyra wasn't done. She also said something else, she added, voice quieter. She said you shouldn't have come back. The next morning, I received a letter. It wasn't from my mother. It was from a lawyer representing her. It said, in clean, cold legal language, that I was no longer welcome at her property. That I had violated boundaries. That I was to return any documents taken from the apartment or face further action. I read it over and over. Not because it scared me, but because of how methodical it all was. How prepared. She must have had that letter ready for months, maybe even years. Waiting for the day I'd finally fight back. That night, I got a call from my father. She contacted me, he said. Told me you were trying to start trouble. That you were digging through things that didn't concern you. And what did you say? I told her maybe it's time the truth came out. It was the first time he'd ever stood up to her, even from a distance. She said you're not her child anymore, he added. She used that exact phrase. I didn't say anything. I just let the words sink in. Not her child anymore. It hurt, in a way I wasn't ready for. Even after everything. Even now. I decided to meet her. One last time. Not at her apartment. I asked to meet in public, a small park not far from where she used to walk me as a child. She agreed. She arrived late, of course. Victor didn't come with her. She wore sunglasses even though it was cloudy, and a white coat that looked new. When she saw me, her expression didn't change. You've made this very difficult, she said, sitting down on the bench. I said nothing. You had to go digging. Had to drag up old wounds. I kept my voice calm. You kept a file on me. She shrugged. For your own good. You lied about me. To the entire family. I told them what they needed to hear. And that was the moment I knew, she didn't feel guilt. Not remorse. Just control. She spoke like a politician caught mid-scandal, spinning it into strategy. I was a child, I said. She adjusted her sunglasses. You were emotional. Dramatic. You still are. You protected him, I said. Even when I told you what he did. For the first time, a crack. Just a flicker, in her mouth, her eyes. I didn't protect anyone, she said quietly. I leaned forward. You let him in. You let him stay. And when I tried to leave, you turned it into a crime. You built a case against your own kid. She stood. I don't owe you anything, she said. I gave you everything. And you threw it back in my face. No, I said. You gave me control. Guilt. Silence. And now I'm giving it back. She walked away. No goodbye. No turning back. Just the sound of her heels against the path, fading. It's been 3 months. I haven't heard from her since. The legal notice went nowhere. My lawyer said they were bluffing, trying to scare me into submission. Victor's name has disappeared from every group chat. No one talks about him anymore. I don't know if they broke up, or if she's just hiding him now. Lyra and I talk almost every day. She's thinking of going public too, telling her side of the story. She said, if we don't, she wins. They all win. Maybe she's right. But maybe the point isn't about winning. Maybe it's just about surviving the truth. The photo album I gave my mother on her birthday? I got it back. It showed up at my door in a brown paper bag, no note. I keep it on my shelf now. Not as a memory, but as a reminder. The pictures are still the same. Me, smiling. Her, holding me. Beaches. Birthdays. Faded laughter. But now, I know what those pictures don't show. The silence between the smiles. The rot beneath the surface. The inheritance no one talks about. I don't know if I'll ever speak to her again. Maybe she'll rewrite this story in her head, turn me into a villain. Maybe she already has. But I've stopped trying to edit myself for someone else's comfort. I have my truth now. And the power to decide what to do with it. Even if it means walking away for good. Thank you for watching the video, like it if you watched the video to the end and don't forget to subscribe. Have a nice day.